Today is Wednesday, November 3rd, 2021, and that means it's Dollar Cost Average Wednesday. Are you ready to stack those sats, you sexy sat stackers?
This podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only. Nothing on this podcast should be construed as financial advice. All views expressed on this podcast are solely the opinions of the host and/or any guests that we might have from time to time. Nothing on this podcast should be construed as a specific inducement to make a particular investment or to follow a particular investing strategy.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Bitcoin Bulletin Podcast. This is our 20th episode and will be the 15th stack in our dollar cost average series known as DCA Wednesdays. We started stacking $20 worth of Bitcoin every Wednesday back on July 28th. And since then, we've stacked 14 times and invested a total of $280. And that has scored us 569,544 Satoshis. And at Bitcoin's current price of approximately $63,000, that is currently worth about $358 at an average cost basis of $49,162. So we're off to a pretty good start so far. What exactly is dollar cost averaging? Well, dollar cost averaging, or DCA, is an investment strategy where you invest your money in equal portions at regular intervals regardless of price. When we started all the way back on July 28th, Bitcoin was worth about $39,716 a coin. And during that time, it's fluctuated to anywhere between $38,000 all the way up to its all-time high of over $66,000. But during that time, we've managed to keep our average purchase price down to around $49,162 per Bitcoin. And that is the beauty of dollar cost average. Sometimes we bought when the price is a little higher. Sometimes we bought when the price is a little lower. But as they say, time in the markets beats timing the markets every time it's tried. And again, disclaimer, this is not financial advice. This is simply me documenting our journey exploring dollar cost averaging. As they say, you do your own research. We chose the amount of $20 per stack because for most of our listeners in the United States and Europe, $20 is not an extremely large amount of money. But in other places around the world, and even here in the United States, $20 can be a lot of money to come up with sometimes. But as we say, do your own research. You do you. You pick an investment strategy that you feel comfortable with. Some people dollar cost average daily. Some people dollar cost average monthly. Some people dollar cost average weekly. We chose every Wednesday, and we chose $20. But if you choose the DCA, you pick an amount that you feel comfortable with and a schedule you feel comfortable with. And hopefully following along this podcast will contribute to your journey, or if nothing else, just give you entertainment value. All right, so let's get into it. As we mentioned, today is Wednesday, November 3rd, 2021. We are currently at a block height of 708,104, and Bitcoin is currently priced about $62,740, depending on your exchange. And as usual, we're going to make our stack using the Cash App. As we've said in every episode, Cash App, by the way, is not a sponsor of this podcast. We just like it because it's easy. It's available to almost everybody in the United States. It has relatively low fees. There are cheaper ways to invest in Bitcoin. And as I promised, one of these days, we're going to explore Jack Mallers' Strike app for making our stack. But in the meantime, Cash App's fees are not the highest in the market, even if they're not the lowest in the market. And the fact that they'll still let you transfer your Bitcoin to your hardware wallet without a mining fee helps to offset that investment cost that you're paying. So depending on your situation and depending on how high mining fees are when it comes time for you to secure your coin in your wallet, it might actually even things out for you and end up being as cheap or cheaper than some of the other alternatives. So we're going to open up our Cash App. And I don't keep any money in my Cash App, but I do have a debit card linked to it. So all I have to do is click add $20. And that's pretty much instantaneous. Then I click on the Bitcoin logo in the bottom right-hand corner. Click on the buy button. And again, Cash App will let you automate this process. You can set up recurring orders. You can set up one-time limit orders where they won't make the purchase for you unless Bitcoin hits the specific price you target. But as I keep saying, there just seems to be something more real, more tangible about it if I physically open the app, enter $20, and make that purchase manually. I personally find that more satisfying. You might find that automating your stack is both more efficient and probably less frustrating. It will definitely keep you committed to DCA. You can't forget to make your stack if you have it set up automatically, but we are going to manually enter $20. Click Next. And it's asking us to confirm our purchase. We're going to be purchasing 31,146 sats at a price of $62,768.89. Bitcoin has gone down a tiny bit while I've been recording. That includes a 45-cent fee, so we're basically buying $19.55 worth of Bitcoin for a total cost of $20. Click Confirm. And just that fast, we've purchased 31,146 sats. And that is going to bring our stack up to 600,690 sats, currently worth $377.04. And that is not too shabby considering we've invested only $300. And that is going to bring our average cost basis up just a tiny bit to, it was $49,162. And now our average price is $49,942.57. But that's still a lot less than the almost $63,000 a coin that Bitcoin is currently worth. Of course, it is easy to look like a genius during a bull run. And if you listen to Plan B, etc., and if you believe like I believe that we're definitely in the middle of this bull run, that Bitcoin still has quite a ways to go. But if it does follow its 4-year halving cycle, we do have a potential of a crypto winter, or at least a bear market coming up maybe in the second half of next year, or at least at some point in time between now and the next halving, if it follows, if history repeats itself, or at least if it rhymes. Again, both dollar cost averaging and investing in Bitcoin in general are both long-term strategies. So this is only our 15th stack in what will hopefully be a very long journey together. And while we're doing really well for now, only time will tell, and it ultimately remains to be seen. But that's why we're doing this podcast, and we're going to keep doing it until Bitcoin either reaches hyper-Bitcoinization and we're all filthy stinking rich, Bitcoin crashes and goes to zero, or you just get bored and stop listening. Hopefully you get bored and stop listening because you've been stacking those sats and you just don't have to worry about it anymore. Other than that, there hasn't been a lot of dramatic news since we last spoke. The Bitcoin futures ETFs are doing quite well, one of them having picked up about $2.5 billion of investment in just the short 2 weeks that it's been available. There isn't any China FUD at the moment, although there was some speculation that China might unban Bitcoin so that they can ban it again in the future. There were a lot of various conspiracy theories floated around out in the different podcasts and on Twitter about what exactly China's intentions are. Last night's elections in Virginia and other states gave the Democrat Party some reason to maybe pause and reassess their direction, although Nancy Pelosi came out and said she's full speed ahead on their spending plan, and Biden doesn't seem to be giving an inch. But that is debatable as to whether that is good or bad for Bitcoin, or whether Bitcoin doesn't even care. El Salvador's building another 20 schools, it says, with its Bitcoin. President Nayib Bukele is just kicking butt and taking names in El Salvador, and that's really cool to see. So far, they've announced that they're building an animal hospital, a veterinarian hospital, 20 brand new schools. They're paving some roads, and they overhauled a really poorly neglected drinking water facility. While it's been alleged that most of the people that were using the Chivo wallet were simply doing so to cash out their $30 for US dollars, the official numbers from President Bukele tell a different story. People say that you might not be able to trust the figures coming out of the government, and I certainly have a healthy distrust for any government. But it certainly is nice to see that they are certainly not crashing and burning in El Salvador since adopting Bitcoin. Hopefully other countries are taking note, especially when they see that El Salvador used to be in really bad shape, and now they're doing some pretty cool things. One of the things that I follow consistently is 24-hour transaction volume. And the current 24-hour transaction rate is averaging about 3.38 transactions per second. And that's down a little bit from the 3.44 transactions per second last week and the 3.49 transactions per second the week before. But it's certainly not as low as the 2.85 transactions per second we saw earlier this year when Bitcoin was trending down a little bit. So that's certainly good to see. We did just have an upward difficulty increase adjustment of 7.9% in mining difficulty. That happened on Halloween. The next is scheduled to take place on November 13th, and depending on where you get your information, it can be anywhere between a 2.51% increase to a 6.2% increase. And of course, we're 14 days out from our all-time high, which was anywhere between $66,999 according to Coinbase, or $66,950 if you get your information from Clark Moody's dashboard. And that's only down about 5.8%. So Bitcoin's looking pretty good so far. As you know, Plan B's projection that Bitcoin would close the month of October at $63,000 was pretty much spot on. It had been over $63,000, and it did go down a tiny bit, closed out around $61,000. But it did that on a Sunday. And in my experience, Bitcoin tends to trend down on Sundays. There's very low trading volume usually on Sundays, and so there's room for a lot of manipulation. Plus, I believe Friday was when a lot of futures closed out, and it's alleged that there's a lot of market manipulation to drive the price down in anticipation of those futures expiring. So I'd say 61,000 for the close is not too shabby, and of course we bounced right back to 63,000 just a day or so into November anyway. If he's right, his prediction for this month, I believe, was 98,000 by close of month and upwards to 135,000 by Christmas. So who knows? But by the time we stack the next couple stacks, hopefully Bitcoin will have continued this explosive bull run. And if that's the case, we're going to be looking really good by the end of the year. Hey, if you've been enjoying this podcast and you would like to help support us, there are a number of ways you can do so. Obviously, as we mentioned, if you do have the ability to tip on Twitter and you're not already, you can follow us, and we're at BTC Bulletin Pod on Twitter. So we'd appreciate the follow. And if you have the ability, you can tip us there. Also, if you don't have the Cash App already and you would like to use the Cash App to add to your stack, there is a referral link in the show notes. And if you sign up for Cash App and follow their terms and conditions, but if you do so by clicking on that referral link in the show notes, you'll get $5 free, and we'll get $5 free as well just for you signing up. Another way is I've written several books, but the one that is most relevant to this podcast is Understanding Bitcoin for Noobs, and it's available at both Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com, and obviously by purchasing any of my books, that will help support the podcast. You can also support us directly through Anchor.com, and there's a support link in the show notes. And last but not least, we also include a Base32 Bitcoin address in the show notes where you can send us Bitcoin directly if you choose to do so. And if you'd like to contact me or give us any suggestions on what you'd like about the show or what you don't like about the show, again, we're at BTC Bulletin Pod on Twitter. And you can also contact me via email at bitcoinbulletin@protonmail.com. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Bitcoin Bulletin Podcast, DCA Wednesday edition. As usual, thank you for listening, and keep stacking those sats, you sexy sat stackers.